If you need a last minute Christmas gift, then you can support the channel and get some deals over on the TLDR store. The full details of our offers are at the end of the video, and the store is linked below. While last week's news cycle was dominated by the revelations about last year's Downing Street party, two other controversies seemingly slipped under the radar. Major changes to the Police Crime Sentencing and Courts Bill, which we discussed in another video, also linked below, as well as the passage of the Nationality and Borders Bill through the House of Commons. This bill radically changes the system by which asylum and citizenship rules work in the UK, giving the Home Secretary hugely increased powers. However, some, including the UN, are concerned about some of the provisions, specifically how it alters the UK's approach to the Refugee Convention. So let's take a look through this bill and what it changes right now. So let's get to the bill. The government has, in a document published online, claimed that the bill has three main objectives. To make the system fairer and more effective so that we can better protect and support those in genuine need of asylum. To deter illegal entry into the UK, breaking the business model of criminal trafficking networks and saving lives. And to remove from the UK those who have no right to be here. It seems that the latter two objectives have been motivated by two major events that took place this year. And this is what we're going to focus on. Firstly, what's known as deprivation of citizenship, and the Shamima Begum case that seems to have motivated this. And secondly, the changes to refugee asylum rules, and the Channel border crossings, which seem to have motivated this. First though, a few months ago, Shamima Begum's case cropped back up in the news, renewing interest in the issue. For those of you who don't know, Begum grew up in London and was a British citizen. Age 15 though, she left the country to join ISIS in Syria. She has recently denounced the regime and asked to come back to the UK, accepting that she would be tried in a court upon her return. However, the British government decided to deprive her of her citizenship and refuse her re-entry. Now, this is where things get a little complicated, so strap in. Originally, the Home Secretary could really only remove someone's citizenship if they were a naturalised citizen or someone who had citizenship by registration who had committed some act of treason. This is true in both the Nationality Act of 1948 and 1981. Basically, people born in the UK could not have their citizenship revoked, and the Secretary of State could not revoke citizenship if that person could ultimately become stateless. Irrespective of these rules though, deprivation of citizenship was rarely used. In fact, between 1973 and 2002, it wasn't used at all. However, the 21st century has seen a slow and steady relaxation of the restrictions in which this deprivation could be used. In 2002, the stipulation that it could only be used against those who gained citizenship through registration or naturalisation were relaxed, meaning that for the first time, British citizens who were born in the UK could have their citizenship revoked, although this was still banned if that deprivation of citizenship could cause statelessness. This was then changed in 2014 and allowed the Home Secretary to deprive someone of citizenship as long as they were eligible for citizenship somewhere else. So, even if someone doesn't actually have citizenship anywhere else yet, the government can make them stateless if they have the possibility to. This is exactly what happened in Begum's case, as the British government argued that she was eligible for citizenship in Bangladesh. The key change then in this new Nationalities and Borders Bill is that the government no longer needs to even inform people that they've been deprived of their citizenship. This clearly follows the trend of governments in the 21st century making it easier for the Home Secretary to deprive someone of their citizenship. Clause 9 of the new bill even specifically adds a subsection referencing the part of the 1981 Nationality Act which says that the Secretary of State must give written notice to someone being deprived of their citizenship. Specifically, the new bill says that this can effectively be ignored if it's not reasonably practicable to give them notice. Additionally, warning doesn't need to be given if it's not in the interests of national security, in the interests of the UK, or in the public interest. This means that someone could be made stateless if they're eligible for citizenship elsewhere without them even being given notice. And it's this that's caused significant backlash. Obviously, those who are being stripped of their citizenship are often likely to be very bad people. However, the point is that depriving British citizens of their right to a fair trial and protecting them from, for example, the death penalty abroad is perceived by some as anti-democratic, with one such person being David Davis.
And it seems to me entirely inappropriate that we should make one of our strategies that of being able to take away citizenship from people who very often have lived here since they were 1 or 2 years old. Very often, if they were sent to the other country, which they've never been to and don't speak the language anymore, they will face summary execution. At least one case that applies. Where stands our belief against the capital punishment, which most of the people in this House espouse? So this is an uncivilised, legally disputable removal of the rights of people who may not be good people, but then put them in front of our courts and punish them. That's the way British justice will work. That's the way British democracy should work, and that's what we should do today.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the second controversial part of this bill. Changes to asylum and refugee rules. As you may or may not know, the current government appears to be highly concerned about the reported increase in illegal channel crossings. It was only a few weeks ago that 27 people tragically died attempting this journey, something the government blames on exploitative people traffickers. As mentioned earlier, to stop this from happening, they want to break the gangsters' business model by tightening up British law. So the second part of this bill starts by creating 2 categories, Group 1 and Group 2 refugees. Group 1 are those who have come to the UK directly from a country or territory where their life was threatened, and when they immediately present themselves to authorities. All other refugees are categorised as Group 2. The bill goes on to claim that officers and the Home Secretary can treat these 2 groups differently. For example, on the amount of time that refugees are allowed to stay in the UK for, or whether a refugee's family are allowed to stay in the UK too. However, the UN actually takes issue with this whole approach to immigration, pointing out that the first safe country principle, the idea that refugees are only eligible if they haven't come through other countries first, is unworkable and defies international law. And the Refugee Convention absolutely doesn't refer to this principle, the UN claims. Additionally, according to the Refugee Convention, the state in which the asylum seeker first claims asylum, not where they first land, is responsible for the asylum seeker. Again, this bill seems to be actively ignoring this international convention, insisting that refugees must come directly or not at all. According to the UN, already 73% of the world's 34.4 million refugees are hosted in countries neighbouring their country of origin. So, aside from legality, if all states approached asylum in the same way the UK is set to, then this would create an even more disproportionate global asylum system. The final, very controversial section of this bill looks at punishments for entering the UK illegally, and even assisting someone doing this. Firstly, the bill criminalises arrival in the UK, effectively shoring up the current entry rules. Basically, at the moment, only entering the UK illegally is a crime. If an immigrant was to, for example, arrive in the UK and then present themselves immediately to the authorities and apply for asylum, they wouldn't be breaking the law, as this does not mean they have, in law, entered the UK. However, the change from entry to arrival means that the police and immigration officers will have more powers to turn people away and to prosecute them. If they are prosecuted, the individual is liable to a 12-month prison sentence, a fine, or both. In addition to arriving in the UK, the bill tightens up the rules on helping someone to arrive in the UK, increasing the penalty for doing so from 14 years imprisonment to life. As if this wasn't a big enough change on its own, the bill removes the stipulation that to be subject to this penalty, the individual has to help asylum seekers for gain. In essence, the bill has widened the scope of who can be charged for helping asylum seekers enter the country, with not just the gangs eligible to be charged. Any individual who helps the asylum seekers can now also be charged. So, this is what the Nationality and Borders Bill aims to do, both in respect to nationality and, well, borders. But what do you think? Do the government's changes meet the government's 3 objectives for the bill? Or is the UN right to be outraged? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, as I said at the start, there's just about time for Christmas orders from the TLDR store. And here's a couple of offers for you. Firstly, if you want to buy a copy of our book, Brexit the Colouring Book, for a friend, then you can also treat yourself too, with 2 copies for just $14.99. Or if you use code citizenship, you can get a random free pin badge when you buy any 2. Your purchases help out the channel a lot, and we'd love your support. So the link is in the description. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we release a new video. Special thanks to our Patreon backers who make videos like this one possible. And if you want to see your name at the end of videos, then you too can back us on Patreon. The link to that is in the description.